I'm Sian Beckett and this is Lyra, and I'm here in this video to tell you some information about how you are able to tell which star system you have incarnated on and where you're from, really. I get asked this question quite a lot on Instagram, where people follow my feed and all the information I give people. How do you know you're Lyran? Do you remember Lyra? Do you remember Vega? And the answer is no, I don't. I don't remember my past life in Lyra. I've just recently booked a past life regression session where it will tap into my unconscious. But there are things that will resonate with you about that. There's lots of videos online about all the different star seeds and what each of them are like, personality-wise, physically, how you'll come across in your human vessel. I do say that a lot of these things are true because I watched a lot of these videos at the beginning, but it'll just come to you in an inner knowing that you know you were from that particular star system. Quite often with Lyrans though, because we were one of the first entity to be created in the universe and our planet got destroyed by the reptilians in a galactic war, we will have incarnated in the Pleiades and various other star systems around the universe because we had no planet to go back to. So if you're incarnated on, if we could have gone back to Lyra, I'm sure we'd have just kept reincarnating onto our own planet. However, we got destroyed by the reptilians, which you'll hear a lot of people talk online about reptilians and Orion and the Galactic Wars. Now, it's just history, and I don't want to say that someone that's an Orion starseed or a reptilian starseed is worse than any of the others. So I want that to be cleared up straight away, because this was a long time ago, and a bit like we've had plenty of world wars. At the end of the day, Lyra and Vega were directly next door to Orion, and as we know in Earth, when you've got a country such as England, usually we've had fights with our neighbouring countries, and there'll be a big hatred towards that country for the next 1,000 years because there was a big war years ago and we took their country, and that's the sort of mentality it is. But right now, what you've got to remember is there is a balance between the reptilians and the Lyrans, and at the moment, there's a bit of an imbalance in Earth, but it's all going to equal out over the next coming 20 years, where we're going to have enough light and dark. Unfortunately, there is always got to be light and dark, and there's always a reason that things have happened here and on other planets, because if you think about it, if the reptilians hadn't have destroyed Vega and the Lyrans didn't have anywhere else to go, they would never have been incarnating on Earth in the Pleiades and helping all these other star systems in creating light in their in their planets and in creating light in the whole universe as a whole. So in a way, the whole thing has happened for a complete reason. And right now, I think up with the Galactic Council, we are in, I wouldn't say we were friends with the reptilians, but we have an understanding now that in order for everywhere to survive, every single planet, there has to be a balance of light and dark. And if the balance is slightly out, we're all in it to do it together. So there's no question of fighting, and there's no point in pointing fingers at who you think are reptilian, who you think are Lyran, who you think, it doesn't matter really. We're all in it together, and we need to work together as a team in order to create a balance, such as there is too much male influence, not enough female. It's the same, it's yin and yang, everything has to be good, evil, everything's balanced. And that's what our mission is here on planet Earth, is to bring the balance back, which is why we're having a lot of destruction at the moment in order to re-establish a planet Earth that is going to be more of a 5D and above, if you want to call it, instead of the 3D reality that we're living at the moment. So what planet Earth will be like when all of this has been done over the next few years is we should create something more like the Pleiades, because the Pleiades are a star system that have gone through similar things to Earth right now, and they haven't long done that. So whereas other more established parts of the universe really would not incarnate here because they're like, no way, it's too much for us, the Pleiadians will incarnate because they're like, we didn't go through this long ago. We need to help these guys out because we know how we can help them do it. This is why, the destruction of the world as we know it in 2020 with coronavirus is happening, because it needs to happen in order to recreate a less material world. And it's already working, although it's a bit destructive. It will have to crumble. The foundations of the original 3D Earth will have to crumble down before we can re-establish. So getting back to what I was saying about how would you know you're Lyran? Well, there's several things you'll know. I mean, physically, appearance-wise, you'll find that you're mostly red-headed, although that's only applicable if you're a Caucasian. So if you're not Caucasian, it's a little bit harder to see the red tint in your hair, although you still have a red tint in your hair, and you'll still have the DNA that causes the redness, but the dark will overcome it and you won't be able to see it as clearly. You will have sort of lion-like features. A lot of people say that because Lyrans are quite physically fit in their form, they'd say that you can be quite athletic. Now, I would say that that's true, but it's not really that true, because I think if the more times you've incarnated on Earth as a Lyran, the more you enjoy the 3D treats that we get here, such as the really bad food. So some Lyrans will be quite extreme, because you'll find that if you are Lyran, you will care about other people, usually more than you care about yourself. Some of us will be a bit more outspoken than others, but if you feel that somebody is unable to speak up for themselves, vulnerable, or animals that can't speak up for their rights, you will be, even if you're a quiet person, you will speak up really strongly about that, and you'll speak up against the people that are doing that to those vulnerable animals, the environment. You'll care about the environment. Do I think, will you have to be vegan necessarily? Because vegan, it probably comes from that word anyway. Not necessarily, because in the 3D, you might think, I really love a wine, I really love meat, But would you care about how the animal's treated? And would you prefer to eat free range? I would say yes. But you wouldn't be greedy. You'll try and have a balanced diet if you can. Although you will sometimes indulge in the things that you shouldn't, because it's a little bit naughty because you're on planet Earth and you're allowed to. And anything else do I think? I mean, you've got to remember as well, if you go into past life regression, I've been watching quite a few doctors that tell you about past life regression and what they've discovered that people say, and over experienced amount of time, like 20 years of doing that therapy work, they've come up with a conclusion that only 4% of the human population has had an interplanetary incarnation, which means that a lot of you will just be reincarnating onto Earth each time because it's your planet. So to be an interplanetary incarnation is pretty unusual, was 4%. And then I was researching that only 2% of the human population have ginger or red hair. And so I put the two and two together and thought, well, it's really strange as well, because Ed Sheeran has just named his daughter Lyra. And most Lyrans will be quite creative. They'll enjoy music. They'll want to be in the public eye. They will want to help people, be an activist. They'll be quite prominent figures in the either local community or the community as a large, or they'll want to help. They've got an inner need to help planet Earth and raise the vibration. Whether that's online, whether that's in their community, in their family, it doesn't have to be to a huge scale, but it is their inner desire. And that's what you've got to remember. When I started to get back into my art, which I hadn't done since I was at school, but I thought I'm going to go part-time and I'm going to start to do some of the things I love. This is before COVID, whereas now people are starting to do their creative hobbies because they've had some time on their hands, because they've been made to stay at home, which is why I'm saying to you, the collapse of the earth as we know it is all to make us get back to the things that matter, really: family, love, creativity. And unfortunately, that means that the whole structure of society is collapsing as we speak. So it's not going to be easy for us, but you've just got to go within. There's always answers within. You'll sometimes, if you're a Lyran, you'll be able to do light language. Psychic abilities will come quite easy to you. When I started to paint my artwork, I started to paint Lyrans, and I started to remember, and I think they were my family. Although I don't have dreams and imagine what it used to be like living in Lyra, but I remember watching the first time I watched Avatar, and that was the thing. A lot of Lyrans say that the first time they did it is when they started to watch The Lion King. But either way, you've got an affinity to, they say cats, but in general, a Lyran will have an affinity to every animal anyway, well, no matter what. So I can't really say that. I mean, cats are lovely and I love cats. And funnily enough, I had a ginger cat, was my first pet, which is, I'm ginger, the cat was ginger. A lot of people with red hair get bullied quite a lot. And that makes me think, I wonder if that's people knowing that you're secretly Lyran and wanting to eliminate the population of Lyrans on the earth, because a lot of the time they'll say, oh, I don't want a ginger baby or a red-haired baby. Apparently nobody gives to sperm banks with red hair anymore, because that's one of the conditions that people will look for. And I always think, is it because people with red hair are ugly? And it's not. So what is the reason? And I think the reason is the other so-called entities that don't want us to survive have come up with this to make us, you know, have a bad reputation, if you like, so that we don't breed, because our bloodline is counterproductive to their bloodline. But it's not a fight, it's not a war, it's just a balance. And as long as the balance gets back to what it should be, then we will all be okay. So you need to look at what you feel, and what you feel is always stronger than anything else. So when you watch something like Avatar, do you feel an affinity to those people? When you watch things to do with Mayans, Egyptians, Red Indians, Aborigines, all of these tribes that use nature and realise that we were all part of the same thing, do you feel upset when you hear about the tragedies and atrocities that happened to them? Because that is where the Lyrans would have first incarnated in the history that we know of. And if you feel the infinity, I remember going to Alcatraz and seeing the graffiti written by the Red Indians that were put on there. And I remember almost crying. Your feelings will be overly emotional for somebody that you feel as if in this life you never knew. And that, your emotions will tell you, if you feel a tingling on your neck, if you feel a rush of sadness all of a sudden, that is because you were probably there, and that was probably your tribe. And a lot of the Lyrans will have incarnated because they're a peaceful people who would have lived with nature as opposed to against nature, and they would have incarnated in those kind of environments. So you will have an affinity to them. With the physical appearances, I mean, you could be Lyran and look nothing like me, and you could be Lyran and you could be slim and an athlete. But, you know, I would say that almost all of us have got red hair, and that's that. But like I said, if you're Caucasian, it's easier to spot. But if you're not, you will have a red tinge in your hair, and that is just one of those things. But I mean, you could have chosen not to. But when we incarnate on Earth, we always need clues to, you know, with our birth chart. Our birth chart is one of them. We will have clues that we've left ourselves, so that when we need to speak up like I am now, we can trace back our roots, because our roots are really important. And of course, you will all have human families. Most interplanetary starseeds will have incarnated in a human family because it's easier for them to get to grips with how it works down here on Earth. So if you're, sorry, my foot's going numb. If you have incarnated and you feel very lonely within your family, that you don't really belong, that's potentially because you've chosen to come down into a human family, because that human family may have been incarnating here for quite a number of years and be able to teach you the ropes, teach you how it works down here. And then you can much easier deal with the ups and downs of the depression you will suffer from, because you won't understand why people are so mean to each other, why the earth is so dense. It will get to you. It will really, some of the feelings and the heaviness will get to you quite often, and you'll think, oh my God, but your grounding of your earth family will be able to help you navigate, if you like, through this reality. And then you will make a much better job of what you do in the end, because all Lyrans have it in them, and the female Lyrans tend to struggle more with the depression than the males, because it's much easier for them to climb up the career ladder. So at the moment, if you're a Lyran female, I really feel for you. So I'd like you to comment if you're a Lyran, subscribe to my channel, and share this video if you enjoyed it. And if you'd like to hear more content about Lyra, about star systems, about past lives, then I am so happy to cover it. And I'm sending you lots and lots of love. And let's raise Earth's vibration together, because we need to make planet Earth what Lyra used to be, which is a beautiful planet with animals and respect and loving, creativity, music. It was the absolute dream. And right now, this is a nightmare. So let's all do it together. Okay, lots of love. See you next time.